For decades, we have misunderstood the most powerful teaching ever given. Love your neighbor as yourself. We treat it as a moral obligation, a duty to perform, something we must force ourselves to do. But Joel Goldsmith discovered the mystical secret hidden within these words that transforms everything. This is not about behavior. This is about recognition of truth. The breakthrough came when Joel realized we have been reading this teaching backwards. We try to love others while secretly believing we are separate individuals competing for limited good. We attempt kindness while holding on to the belief that your gain is my loss, that we are fundamentally different and alone. But the mystical truth is this: there is no neighbor to love because there is only one life expressing itself as all. When you see through the illusion of separation, love is not something you do. Love is what you are. This recognition changes everything because it dissolves the root cause of all human suffering, the belief in separation. The moment you experience this truth, even briefly, your entire relationship with every person transforms. Not through effort, not through willpower, but through spiritual sight. You begin to see what Joel called the Christ identity in everyone, the one divine presence expressing itself infinitely. Joel Goldsmith taught that we cannot truly love our neighbor while we believe our neighbor is separate from us. This is the hidden trap that keeps humanity in cycles of conflict, judgment, and pain. We try to be good to others while unconsciously maintaining the belief that we are isolated individuals fighting for survival in a competitive world. Every problem between people stems from this one illusion of separation. Your anger at someone, your fear of them, your need to control them, all arise because you believe they are other than you. You believe their interests oppose yours, that their success diminishes you, that they can threaten your well-being. But spiritual reality reveals something completely different. There is one infinite consciousness appearing as all beings. The same life that animates you animates everyone. The same presence that breathes you breathes all. When this truth becomes your living experience, not just an intellectual concept, everything shifts. Joel called this the practice of recognizing spiritual identity. You look at any person, and instead of seeing a separate human with their own agenda, you recognize the one divine presence expressing itself. This is not imagination or pretending. This is perceiving what is actually true beyond the surface appearance of separation. Here is the practice that Joel Goldsmith used to transform his consciousness and the consciousness of thousands. When you encounter any person, pause before reacting. Do not try to love them. Do not try to be kind. Instead, silently recognize this truth. The same I am that is the reality of my being is the reality of their being. This is not a belief you adopt. This is a truth you realize through inner stillness. Take a moment right now. Close your eyes if possible. Feel the presence of awareness within you, that which is aware of these words, that which has always been aware throughout your entire life. This unchanging awareness is your true identity. Now recognize this same awareness is present in every person you will encounter today. Not a similar awareness, but the exact same one consciousness looking through different eyes. When you realize this, truly realize it, the impulse to harm disappears. The need to judge dissolves. Fear of others evaporates. Joel discovered that when you practice this recognition consistently, something miraculous happens within weeks. Your relationships transform without effort. People respond to you differently because you are seeing them differently. You are no longer projecting separation onto them. You are recognizing the one life that unites all. The reason this teaching has been misunderstood for 2,000 years is simple. We have tried to practice love while maintaining the consciousness of separation. It cannot work. You cannot genuinely love what you perceive as separate and potentially threatening to you. All forced kindness eventually breeds resentment. But when you shift from trying to love your neighbor to recognizing your neighbor as the same one life you are, everything becomes effortless. This is not about being nice. This is about seeing truth, and truth seen transforms everything it touches without struggle or strain. Joel taught that this recognition must become your automatic response to every person. Not just the people you like, not just your family, but every single person, including those who have hurt you. Because the truth does not change based on behavior or circumstances. The one life is expressing itself as all, regardless of appearances. This is the hidden mystical key. Love your neighbor as yourself because your neighbor is yourself. Not metaphorically, not symbolically. Actually, one consciousness, one life, one presence appearing as the infinite diversity of human beings. When you live from this recognition, you become a healing presence wherever you go. Let me share how this truth transformed a woman named Catherine, who came to one of Joel's classes carrying years of resentment toward her sister. She had tried everything: forgiveness exercises, therapy, positive affirmations, but the bitterness remained like poison in her heart. She could not force herself to love someone who had betrayed her trust repeatedly. Joel told her something that shocked her. Stop trying to love your sister. Stop trying to forgive her. Instead, practice recognizing the truth of her being. Every time you think of her, silently declare, "The one infinite life that I am is the one infinite life appearing as my sister." Not two lives in conflict, but one life expressing itself as both. Catherine resisted at first. This felt like excusing bad behavior, like pretending the hurt never happened. But Joel explained, this is not about behavior or excusing anything. This is about recognizing spiritual reality beyond the human drama. The personality that hurt you is not the truth of that person any more than your wounded personality is the truth of you. She practiced this recognition for 3 weeks, and something extraordinary happened. The resentment simply dissolved without effort. Not because her sister changed or apologized, but because Catherine stopped seeing a separate enemy and began recognizing one life expressing itself. Her sister felt this shift and reached out to reconcile within days. Consider Robert, a businessman who struggled with a competitor who seemed determined to destroy his company. Every aggressive move this rival made felt personal, like an attack on Robert's very existence. He spent nights consumed with anger and fear, plotting defensive strategies, unable to find peace. When Robert encountered Joel's teaching, he initially rejected it as impractical idealism. How could recognizing oneness help him deal with someone actively trying to ruin him? But desperation led him to try the practice. Every morning before work, he would sit in silence and recognize the truth beyond appearances. He would silently acknowledge, there is no enemy, because there is only one life, one presence, one consciousness appearing as all. My competitor is not separate from me. The same divine life expressing itself as me expresses itself as him. This is the truth regardless of what the human situation looks like. Within 6 weeks, something shifted. His competitor unexpectedly reached out to discuss collaboration instead of competition. But more importantly, Robert's internal state transformed completely. Even if the external situation had not changed, he was free from the torment of perceiving an enemy. He had found the peace that comes from recognizing spiritual unity. Here is what makes this practice so powerful. When you recognize the one life in another person, you are not doing something to them. You are removing the veil of misperception from your own consciousness. You are dissolving the belief in separation that creates all conflict, all fear, all the sense of threat that poisons human relationships. Joel discovered that this recognition acts as a spiritual healing force. When you see the truth of someone's being, you are holding them in the light of reality rather than the darkness of judgment. This does not mean you ignore harmful behavior or allow yourself to be abused. It means you respond from wisdom rather than fear. The practice works because consciousness is one. When you shift your perception of another person from enemy to expression of the same divine life you are, that shift in consciousness affects the entire relationship. You are no longer feeding the field of separation and conflict. You are establishing the truth of unity. This is why Joel taught that the most powerful thing you can do for anyone is to know the truth of their being. Not hope for it, not wish for it, but recognize it as already true. The one infinite perfect life is expressing itself as this person right now, regardless of what the human appearance suggests. Over months of practicing this recognition, something profound happens in your consciousness. You begin to experience what Joel called living in the secret place of the Most High. You walk through a world that appears full of separate individuals competing and conflicting, but you know the truth. You see beyond the surface appearance to the one life expressing itself infinitely. This is not denial of problems or naive optimism. This is spiritual sight that perceives reality beyond the illusion. And from this consciousness, You become a transforming presence. People feel different around you because you are not reinforcing their sense of separation. You are silently recognizing their true identity as the one divine life. Joel promised that anyone who practices this recognition consistently for 90 days will experience a complete transformation in their relationships. Not because people change to please you, but because you stop projecting separation onto them. You begin living from the consciousness of oneness that is the foundation of all true love. If these transformation stories inspire you, like this video to help others find these teachings, subscribe for more Joel Goldsmith wisdom, and comment which healing story resonated most with your heart right now. Joel Goldsmith taught a complementary practice that deepens this recognition of oneness. He called it the practice of impersonalization. This means you stop taking the human personality as the identity of anyone, including yourself. The personality is simply a temporary expression, like waves on the ocean, but it is not the ocean itself. When someone treats you badly, your automatic response is to identify them with their behavior. You say, this person is cruel, this person is selfish, this person is my enemy. But Joel revealed this is mistaking the wave for the ocean. The behavior is not the being. The personality is not the presence that gives life to that personality. Practice this shift right now. Think of someone who has hurt you or someone you struggle to accept. Now silently declare, this behavior I am seeing is not the truth of this being. Behind this human appearance is the one infinite life expressing itself. I refuse to accept the personality as the identity. I recognize only the divine presence. This practice frees you from being held hostage by other people's behavior. You no longer need them to change before you can experience peace. You are recognizing what is true beyond what appears to be true. And this recognition has healing power not just for you, but for them. Another powerful technique Joel taught is the practice of seeing through the claim of power in people. We give others so much power over our peace, our happiness, our well-being. We believe they can hurt us, diminish us, block our good. But this belief itself is the source of our suffering. The spiritual truth is that no person has power to affect your good because your good does not come from people. Your good comes from the one infinite source expressing itself as you. When you recognize this, you stop being vulnerable to what anyone does or does not do. You stop trying to manipulate people into giving you what you need. Practice this recognition daily. When you feel upset by someone's actions, pause and silently acknowledge, this person has no power over my life. My life is the infinite life itself, and nothing can diminish it or threaten it. I am not at the mercy of human opinions, human actions, or human decisions. Joel discovered that when you truly live from this recognition, you stop attracting difficult people and situations. Not because you are pushing them away, but because you are no longer in the consciousness that creates those experiences. You are living from the awareness of your completeness in the one infinite life. Here is a practice for moments when you feel anger or judgment arising toward someone. Instead of suppressing the feeling or acting on it, use it as a signal to return to truth. The anger is showing you that you have slipped into the consciousness of separation. You are perceiving an enemy, a threat, something separate from you. In that moment, stop and breathe. Silently recognize, this feeling of separation is not truth. There is no enemy because there is only one life. I am experiencing the pain of believing in separation, but separation itself is illusion. The same presence that I am is the presence appearing as this person I am judging. Joel taught that practiced consistently, this transforms your emotional life completely. You stop being tossed around by other people's behavior because you are anchored in the recognition of oneness. The storms of human interaction continue, but you remain in the peace of spiritual reality. This does not mean you become passive or allow harmful behavior. It means you respond from wisdom and clarity rather than from wounded ego. You can set boundaries, you can remove yourself from harmful situations, but you do it from peace rather than from fear and separation. The final complementary practice is what Joel called beholding the invisible. This means you train yourself to look past the human appearance and behold the spiritual reality present in every person. Not the personality, not the body, not the behavior, but the invisible presence that gives life to all of that. Start practicing this with everyone you encounter today. The cashier at the store, the person who cuts you off in traffic, your family member who irritates you. Look at them and silently behold the invisible one life shining through that human form. See past the appearance to the reality. Joel promised that this practice performed consistently creates what he called the mystical consciousness. You begin to live in two worlds simultaneously. You see the human scene with all its drama and problems, but you also see the spiritual reality of one infinite perfect life expressing itself as all. From this consciousness, you become a beneficial presence wherever you go, not because you are trying to be good or spiritual, but because you are seeing truth, and truth seen has healing power. People feel lighter around you. Conflicts resolve. What seemed impossible becomes possible. This is the hidden truth about loving your neighbor as yourself. Now let us address the challenges you will face in practicing this recognition, because Joel was honest about the obstacles. The first challenge is that your human mind will resist this truth violently. Your ego has invested its entire existence in the belief that you are a separate individual, and it will fight to maintain that illusion. When you try to recognize oneness with someone who has hurt you, your mind will scream that this is dangerous, that you are being naive, that you must protect yourself by maintaining separation. This is normal. This is the ego defending its territory. Do not fight this resistance. Simply observe it and gently return to the recognition of truth. The second challenge is that results may not be immediate or dramatic. You might practice recognizing oneness with a difficult person for weeks and see no external change. This is where most people abandon the practice. But Joel taught that the transformation happens first in your consciousness, and external changes follow. You are not practicing this recognition to manipulate outcomes or control people. You are practicing it to align yourself with spiritual truth. The healing that comes is a byproduct of living in truth, not a reward for performing a technique correctly. Trust the process even when you see no evidence that anything is working. Another major challenge is the tendency to practice this recognition selectively. You might find it easy to recognize oneness with people you like while excluding those you fear or dislike. But Joel warned that selective recognition is not recognition at all. It is just another form of manipulation, trying to use spiritual truth as a tool to get what you want. The truth does not change based on personality or behavior. The one infinite life expresses itself as the saint and as the criminal, as your friend and as your enemy. If you only recognize truth in some people, you are still living in the consciousness of separation that creates all your suffering. This is difficult. Your human sense of justice rebels against recognizing divine presence in someone who has committed terrible acts. But remember, you are not excusing behavior. You are recognizing being. The behavior may be addressed through human means, law, and consequences, but the being remains the one infinite life regardless. Practice this with the person you find most difficult to accept. This is where the deepest healing happens, when you can recognize the truth of being even in someone whose behavior you despise. You have broken the chains of separation consciousness. You have found the freedom Joel promised is available to all. Joel also taught about the challenge of inconsistency. You will have days where this recognition feels natural and effortless. You look at people and clearly see the one life expressing itself. Then suddenly you have days where everyone seems like a separate enemy again. This is normal. This is the pattern of spiritual growth. Do not judge yourself when you fall back into separation consciousness. Simply recognize what has happened and gently return to truth. The practice is not about achieving permanent perfection. The practice is about returning to truth again and again until it becomes your automatic response. Some weeks you will feel like you are making no progress at all. Other weeks you will experience breakthrough moments where the truth becomes so clear, you wonder how you ever believed in separation. Both experiences are part of the journey. Keep practicing regardless of how you feel. Joel emphasized that spiritual growth is not linear. You do not move steadily forward from ignorance to enlightenment. You spiral, sometimes appearing to go backwards but actually deepening your understanding. Trust that every moment of practice matters even when you cannot see immediate results in your life. The final challenge is dealing with people who seem determined to prove separation is real. They attack you, they betray you, they create conflict and drama. Your mind says, "See, oneness is just a pretty idea. The real world is full of separate people who can hurt you." This is the ultimate test of your understanding. Joel taught that in these moments, you must return to the fundamental recognition even more firmly. The behavior you are witnessing is the human sense of separation acting out. But beneath that behavior, unchanged and untouched, is the one infinite perfect life. Your task is not to change the behavior through recognition. Your task is to remain established in truth. When you do this, one of two things happens. Either the person's behavior shifts because you are no longer feeding the field of separation, or you are guided to remove yourself from the situation with peace and clarity. Either way, you remain free. You are not controlled by other people's state of consciousness. If these challenge-breaking techniques speak to your heart, like to support this content, subscribe for advanced spiritual practices, and comment which obstacle are you ready to transform now. Let me share how this advanced practice transformed Daniel, a therapist who worked with deeply traumatized individuals. He had practiced Joel's teaching for 2 years, but he reached a point where he questioned whether it was working. His clients remained in pain despite his recognition of their true nature. He wondered if he was failing them. Joel explained that recognizing truth in another does not instantly dissolve their human experience. What it does is establish a field of consciousness in which healing becomes possible. Daniel was not seeing dramatic changes in his clients because he was still unconsciously expecting his recognition to produce specific results. The breakthrough came when Daniel surrendered all attachment to outcomes. He practiced recognizing the truth of each client's being without any expectation that they would heal in a particular way or time frame. He simply held them in the light of truth and allowed the infinite wisdom to work in whatever way was appropriate. Within 3 months, he noticed a subtle but profound shift. His clients began experiencing breakthroughs they had never achieved before, not because Daniel was doing something different externally, but because he was established in a consciousness of truth without manipulation. He had become a clear space in which healing could occur naturally. Consider Elizabeth, a mother dealing with an adult child struggling with addiction. She had tried every approach: enabling, tough love, intervention, therapy. Nothing worked. Her child continued the destructive behavior. When she found Joel's teaching, she practiced recognizing her child's true nature as the one infinite perfect life. But for months, nothing changed externally. Her child's addiction continued. Elizabeth faced the deepest challenge, continuing to recognize truth when all evidence suggested it was not working. She questioned whether she was deluding herself, whether she was using spirituality to avoid facing reality. Joel's teaching sustained her. She recognized that she was not practicing this truth to fix her child. She was practicing it to align herself with reality. Her child's human journey was between them and the infinite presence. Her role was to stop adding her consciousness of fear and separation to the situation. After 8 months of consistent practice, her child entered recovery. But Elizabeth realized the real miracle was that she had found peace long before that happened. She had learned to live in truth regardless of circumstances. Whether her child recovered or not, she was free from the torment of believing she was a helpless separate person watching another separate person suffer. Here is an advanced application for your daily life. Practice recognizing the one life not just in people but in every situation. When you face a challenge at work, recognize that there are not two forces in opposition: your will versus circumstances. There is one infinite intelligence expressing itself as the entire situation, including the solution. When you encounter what appears to be conflict or obstacle, pause before reacting. Silently recognize, there is no separation between me and this situation. The same infinite presence that I am is the presence appearing as this entire experience. I align myself with the wisdom within this situation rather than fighting against it. Joel taught that this recognition dissolves the struggle that makes problems feel so heavy. You stop experiencing life as you versus the world. You begin experiencing life as one movement expressing itself through infinite forms. Problems still arise, but you meet them from a completely different consciousness. Practice this recognition every time you feel stress or resistance arising. The stress is your signal that you have fallen into separation consciousness. You are perceiving yourself as separate from your circumstances, fighting against them. The recognition of oneness returns you to the flow of life where solutions appear naturally. The most advanced practice Joel taught is what he called resting in the infinite invisible. This means you reach a point where you no longer need to actively practice recognition. You simply rest in the awareness that all is one life expressing itself. And this awareness becomes your automatic state. You walk through your day and you naturally see beyond the appearance of separation to the reality of oneness. You encounter difficult people and situations, but you are not thrown off center because you are established in truth. This is not something you achieve through effort. This is what emerges when you practice consistently over time. Joel described this as living in the fourth dimension while appearing to live in the three-dimensional world. You see what others see, the conflict and drama and separation. But you also see what they do not see, the one infinite, perfect life expressing itself through all forms. From this consciousness, you become what Joel called a transparency for truth. You are no longer seeking anything because you recognize you already are the infinite fullness. You are no longer trying to change anyone because you see they already are the perfect expression of divine life. You rest in truth, and truth does its work through you. Let me paint the picture of what your life becomes when this recognition of oneness becomes your living reality. You wake each morning in peace because you are not facing a day full of separate people and circumstances that might threaten you. You are resting in the awareness of one life expressing itself as your entire experience. You encounter people throughout your day, and you see them differently than most people see them. You see past their personalities and problems to the infinite presence shining through them. This does not make you naive about human behavior. It makes you wise because you are responding to reality rather than reacting to appearance. When challenges arise, you do not experience them as enemies attacking you. You recognize them as the one life presenting opportunities for deeper realization. You move through difficulties with a peace that others find mysterious. They ask how you remain so calm, and you cannot fully explain it to them. Your relationships transform completely. Not because people change to accommodate you, but because you are no longer demanding that they be anything other than what they are. You see the truth of their being, and that seeing itself is healing. They feel accepted by you in a way they have never felt accepted before. Your inner life becomes a place of refuge rather than a battlefield. The constant mental chatter about what others think of you, what they might do to you, how to protect yourself from them, all of that dissolves. You know yourself as the infinite life itself, and nothing can threaten that. You discover that most of what you called love was actually need disguised as love. You needed people to behave certain ways so you could feel safe and valued. But now you are established in your completeness in the one life. You can truly love because you are not looking to get anything from anyone. Joel promised this is not a distant ideal. This is available to anyone willing to practice recognizing the truth of oneness consistently. Some people experience this transformation in months. Others take years. The timeline does not matter. What matters is the consistent return to truth regardless of circumstances. You find yourself becoming a healing presence without trying. People sense something different about you. Conflicts resolve in your presence. Troubled individuals feel peace around you. This is not because you are special. This is because you are established in truth, and truth itself has healing power. Here is what Joel discovered in his decades of practice and teaching. The reason humanity suffers is not because of external circumstances. Humanity suffers because of the belief in separation. Every problem, every conflict, every pain traces back to the fundamental illusion that we are separate individuals competing for limited good. When you dissolve this illusion through consistent recognition of oneness, you do not escape from life's challenges. You meet them from an entirely different consciousness. You are not fighting against people or circumstances. You are allowing the one infinite intelligence to express itself as the solution through your awareness. This is the hidden mystical truth that Joel spent his life revealing. Love your neighbor as yourself is not a command to perform loving actions. It is a statement of reality. Your neighbor is yourself. One life, one presence, one consciousness expressing itself as the infinite diversity of forms. When this becomes your living experience, everything changes. Not overnight, not through dramatic miracles, but through a gradual transformation of your consciousness that affects everything you encounter. You become established in what Joel called the consciousness of truth, and from that consciousness, you live in a completely different world. I leave you with Joel Goldsmith's final instruction on this practice. Do not believe these words. Do not accept them as philosophy or interesting ideas. Test them through direct experience. Practice recognizing the one life in every person you encounter for 90 days and discover for yourself whether this transforms your experience. Start today, right now. Think of one person you struggle with. Silently recognize, the one infinite life that I am is the one infinite life appearing as this person. Not two lives in conflict, but one life expressing itself. Feel the shift that happens when you stop perceiving an enemy and recognize the one presence. This is not easy practice. Your ego will resist. Your human mind will provide 1,000 reasons why separation is real. But persist. Return to truth again and again. And watch as your world transforms, not because circumstances change, but because you are seeing through new eyes. If your spiritual understanding expanded through these Joel Goldsmith secrets, like this video, subscribe for more transformative teachings, and comment, "I am transformed," to confirm your new path.